At 21:30 hours on November 8, 1944, Private First Class Thomas Adler sat motionless in a shallow depression 40 yards beyond American lines in Hürtgen Forest, Germany, listening to darkness. Temperature was 28 degrees. The ground was frozen. His M1903 Springfield lay across his lap. No scope attached. Iron sights only. Scopes were useless in darkness, just added weight and glare risk. He'd been sitting in the same position for 15 minutes. Hadn't moved, hadn't shifted weight, hadn't scratched the itch on his left shoulder that had been building for the past 3 minutes. Movement meant sound. Sound meant death. The smell of cordite hung in the cold air, mixed with wet pine and something else. Decomposition. Bodies still rotting in no man's land from fighting 2 weeks earlier. The smell didn't bother Adler. He'd grown up on a farm. Death had a smell. You learned to work around it. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, a German sniper was hunting. Adler could feel it. The same way he'd felt foxes circling his father's chicken coop back in Wisconsin. Predators had patterns. They moved with purpose. They waited for prey to make mistakes. This German had killed 17 American soldiers in the past 72 hours. 17 men who'd made the mistake of moving after dark. 17 funerals. Tonight, that pattern would break. Adler's squad leader, Sergeant Frank Morrison, thought Adler was in his foxhole. If Morrison found out Adler had left his position without authorization, court-martial. Violation of standing orders. Possible firing squad if things went badly. But Adler had watched those 17 men die. Had watched them carried back to American lines on stretchers. Had watched medics shake their heads. Single gunshot wounds. Professional kills. All between 2100 and 0400 hours. All shot by an enemy no one could see. American doctrine said snipers operated in daylight only. Darkness belonged to defensive positions. No offensive operations after 1800 hours. That was the rule. The rule had gotten 17 men killed in 3 days. Adler's hands were cold. He wore no gloves. Gloves reduced trigger sensitivity. His fingers were going numb, but he kept them still. Movement meant sound. Sound meant the German would hear him before Adler heard the German. And this whole thing only worked if Adler heard him first. He breathed through his nose. Slow, controlled rhythm. Mouth breathing was louder. Foxes could hear mouth breathing at 50 yards. German snipers probably could too. The forest was quiet now. Artillery had stopped 30 minutes ago. Machine gun fire had died down to occasional distant bursts. The night sounds were settling. Wind through bare trees, the creak of frozen branches. Somewhere far off, an American soldier coughed. Adler filtered it out, listened past it, listened for the sounds that didn't belong. This was how you hunted nocturnal predators. You became part of the landscape. You waited. And when the predator moved, you heard it before it heard you. Adler had 40 rounds of .30-06 ammunition. 4 clips. Should be enough. Back home, hunting foxes, he averaged 1.2 rounds per kill. 43 foxes killed over 6 years. 51 rounds fired. Never needed more than 2 shots per target. Most died on the first. The question was whether German snipers died as easily as Wisconsin foxes. Between November 8th and December 2nd, 1944, the 28th Infantry Division lost 127 men to German night snipers. 127 soldiers shot in darkness by an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't locate, couldn't fight back against. Not artillery casualties, not mortar fire, not machine gun nests. Single rifle shots. Professional kills, soldiers dead before they heard the report. The math was brutal and simple. German snipers controlled no man's land 24 hours a day. American snipers controlled nothing after sunset. Darkness belonged to the enemy. The Germans hunted freely, killed methodically, disappeared without trace. American doctrine had been clear since 1917. Snipers operated during daylight hours only. Darkness meant defensive positions. You stayed in your foxhole. You didn't move. You didn't expose yourself. You survived by not being a target. The doctrine made sense in theory. In practice, it meant Americans died every single night. While Germans killed with impunity, the 28th Infantry Division had tried to solve the problem. 3 attempts in early November. All failed catastrophically. First attempt, Corporal James Chen, November 2nd, 1944. Chen was a trained sniper. 12 confirmed kills. Combat veteran from Normandy. He volunteered for night counter-sniper operations. Deployed at 2200 hours, positioned himself 60 yards into no man's land. At 2340 hours, an American machine gun crew saw movement in darkness. Couldn't identify the target. Opened fire. Killed Corporal Chen with a 3-second burst. 14 rounds. Chen died before anyone realized he was American. Second attempt. Sergeant William Rodriguez, November 4th, 1944. Rodriguez learned from Chen's mistake. He coordinated with nearby units, made sure everyone knew his position, deployed at 2100 hours, lasted 90 minutes. At 2230 hours, he spotted a German sniper, fired 1 round. The muzzle flash gave away his position. German sniper returned fire 8 seconds later. Single shot. Rodriguez died instantly. Bullet through the left eye. Third attempt. Private David Morrison, November 5th, 1944. Morrison tried a different approach. He stayed in American lines, set up in a forward observation post, planned to spot German muzzle flashes and direct artillery fire. At 23:15 hours, German patrol approached Morrison's position. Morrison called for mortar support. Fire mission executed at 23:18 hours. 1 mortar round fell short, landed directly on Morrison's observation post. Morrison survived with shattered left leg and severe internal injuries. Evacuated to England. Never returned to combat. 3 attempts, 3 failures. 1 dead from friendly fire, 1 dead from enemy fire, 1 permanently disabled from friendly artillery. After Morrison, command issued standing orders. No offensive sniper operations after 1800 hours. Defensive positions only. Let the Germans own the night. But Germans didn't just own it. They hunted in it. The psychological impact was devastating. American soldiers became terrified to move after dark. Latrine trips required 3-man teams. 2 men providing cover, while 1 man did his business. Resupply operations after dark virtually ceased. Wounded soldiers sometimes lay in no man's land for hours because medics couldn't reach them safely. The Germans weren't just killing soldiers. They were strangling operations. Regimental headquarters tracked the statistics. November 1st through November 7th, 1944. 43 casualties from German night snipers. 6 per day average. Single shots. Professional work. The Germans were patient. They waited for movement. They waited for mistakes. And American soldiers made mistakes because humans can't stay motionless in frozen foxholes for 12-hour stretches. They shifted position. They went to the latrine. They delivered ammunition to adjacent positions. They moved. And when they moved, they died. By November 7th, morale in forward positions was collapsing. Soldiers refused to leave their foxholes after dark. Officers couldn't enforce discipline when the alternative was suicide. The Germans had achieved tactical dominance through fear. They didn't need to attack. They just needed to wait for darkness and kill anyone who moved. Nobody had an answer. Doctrine said, avoid night operations. Experience said doctrine was killing them. The math said Americans lost 43 soldiers in 7 days, while Germans lost 0. That ratio was unsustainable. What the 28th Infantry Division needed was someone who understood darkness, someone who'd hunted nocturnal predators before, someone who knew that seeing wasn't the only way to kill. They needed Thomas Adler. They just didn't know it yet. Private First Class Thomas Adler was 21 years old. He grew up on 40 acres of farmland outside Madison, Wisconsin. His father raised chickens, 200 birds at peak production. Good business, steady income. One problem: foxes and coyotes raided the coops at night. His father's rule was simple: nocturnal predators require nocturnal hunters. Adler learned to hunt at night when he was 12 years old. His father gave him a Winchester Model 70 bolt-action rifle and 3 rules. First, no flashlights. Light scared the animals and gave away your position. Second, no moon dependence. Overcast nights were common in Wisconsin. You couldn't wait for clear skies. Third, hunt with your ears, not your eyes. Adler spent 6 years hunting foxes in complete darkness. No light, no moon, just sound. He learned to identify movement patterns. Foxes moved in short bursts, 5 to 7 steps, then pause. Listen. Another 5 to 7 steps. Coyotes moved differently. Longer strides, less frequent pauses, more confident. He learned to hear breathing at 40 yards, learned the sound of paws on frozen ground versus paws on wet grass, learned the metallic click of the chicken coop latch when a fox tried to force entry, learned the rustle of feathers when a predator entered the coop, learned to filter out irrelevant sounds. Wind through corn stalks, distant traffic on county roads, his own heartbeat. By age 17, Adler had killed 43 nighttime predators, foxes mostly, 7 coyotes, 2 wild dogs, 47 total attempts, 43 kills, 91% success rate, average ammunition expenditure, 1.2 rounds per kill. He rarely needed a second shot. The Army drafted him in July 1943, sent him to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Instructors noticed he moved quietly, noticed he navigated night exercises better than other recruits, recommended him for sniper school. Sniper school was 8 weeks. July through August 1944, Camp Perry, Ohio. Adler scored mediocre on daytime marksmanship tests. 73rd percentile. Not bad, not exceptional. Instructors noted adequate shooting skills, excellent fieldcraft, unusual patience. What they didn't note: Adler spent every night exercise listening instead of looking. While other students stumbled through darkness with flashlights, Adler moved silent. Located objectives by sound. Understood the night in ways that couldn't be taught in 8 weeks. He shipped to Europe in September 1944. Landed in France. Assigned to 2nd Battalion, 109th Infantry Regiment, 28th Infantry Division. Arrived at Hürtgen Forest on November 4th, 1944. The battalion had lost 11 men to German night snipers in the previous 72 hours. 11 soldiers who'd made the mistake of moving after dark. 11 men who died before hearing the shot that killed them. Adler met Sergeant Frank Morrison on November 4th, 1944. 1,000 hours. Morrison was his squad leader, 32 years old. Combat veteran, Normandy survivor. 3 confirmed kills as a sniper. He'd lost 2 men from his squad to German night snipers in the past week. Morrison's first words to Adler: "You're the replacement? You look like a farm kid." Not said with warmth, said with assessment, dismissal. Morrison had watched good soldiers die in this forest. He didn't have patience for green replacements who'd probably be dead in a week, Adler said. Nothing, just nodded. Morrison continued: You got sniper training? Yes, Sergeant. How many kills? 0, Sergeant. Morrison's expression didn't change. Stay in your foxhole after dark. Don't move. Don't make noise. Germans own the night here. You go wandering around, you'll die. Understand? Yes, Sergeant. That was the conversation. Morrison walked away. Adler found his assigned foxhole. Met his foxhole partner, Private Carl Henderson. Henderson was 19, from Ohio. He'd been in Hürtgen for 3 weeks. Looked like he'd aged 3 years. Henderson's advice? Don't leave the foxhole after 1800 hours. Don't even think about it. Last guy who tried to reach the latrine at night got shot through the head, 30 feet from here. Didn't even make it to the slit trench. Adler asked, When? 3 nights ago. Guy's name was Sullivan. Good soldier. Just needed to take a piss. German sniper got him at 22:47, single shot. Sullivan was dead before he hit the ground. That night, Adler listened. 2100 hours to 0600 hours. 9 hours of darkness. He heard 3 German sniper shots, 3 different locations, 3 different American soldiers screaming. By dawn, 2 were dead. 1 was wounded badly enough that he'd be evacuated to England. November 5th, 1 more American killed. November 6th, 2 more. November 7th, 3 more. On November 6th, Adler requested permission from Morrison to attempt night counter-sniper operations. Morrison's response was immediate and brutal. This ain't hunting deer, farm kid. This is war. German snipers have been doing this for 5 years. You've been in country for 48 hours. What makes you think some Wisconsin farm kid can see in the dark better than them? Adler's response was quiet. I don't plan to see them, Sergeant. I plan to hear them. Morrison laughed. Not a friendly laugh, a dismissive laugh. You plan to hear them? In a combat zone? With artillery fire every 30 minutes? With machine guns and rifles going off constantly? You're going to hear one specific German sniper? Yes, Sergeant. Morrison shook his head. Request denied. Standing orders say no offensive sniper operations after 1800 hours. You leave your foxhole at night, you'll get killed by friendly fire, enemy fire. Or I'll court-martial you myself. Clear? Clear, Sergeant. That night, Private Michael Torres died. 21:34 hours. Torres was moving between foxholes to deliver ammunition. 40 feet of open ground. He made it 30 feet. German snipers shot him through the chest. Single round. Torres called for his mother as he died. Called for her 3 times. Then stopped. Adler listened to Torres die. Listened to the German sniper's rifle shot echo through the forest. Listened to the silence afterward. The German had fired once, killed once, vanished. 18 American soldiers dead in November. 18 men who'd moved after dark. 18 funerals. Thomas Adler made a decision that night. He wasn't going to ask Morrison for permission again. He wasn't going to wait for authorization that would never come. He was going to do what he'd done for 6 years on a Wisconsin farm. He was going to hunt. November 8th, 1944. 0800 hours. Adler found Morrison at the command post. Morrison was reviewing casualty reports from the previous night. 2 more dead. Private Michael Torres and Corporal Eddie Franklin. Both killed between 2100 and midnight. Both shot while moving between positions. Adler said, Sergeant Morrison, request permission for night counter-sniper operations. Morrison looked up. His face showed exhaustion. He'd been in Hürtgen for 5 weeks. Had watched 32 men die in his company. 11 from his own platoon. He didn't have patience for farm kids with death wishes. We already discussed this, Adler. Yes, Sergeant. But 2 more men died last night. Same pattern, same enemy. We're not stopping them. Morrison set down the casualty report. You think you can? Yes, Sergeant. How? Sound tracking. Same way I hunted foxes back home. Morrison's expression hardened. German snipers have been operating in darkness for 5 years. They've killed in Poland, France, Russia, North Africa. Professional soldiers with thousands of hours of combat experience. You've been in combat for 4 days. You really think your farm experience matches their expertise? No, Sergeant. I think my farm experience is different than their expertise. They're trained for daylight operations adapting to darkness. I'm trained for darkness. Morrison stared at him. You understand what you're asking? You go out there at night, you're on your own. No support, no backup, no radio communication. You get hit, we can't help you. You give away your position, Germans will kill you. You create confusion, our own men might kill you. And if you violate standing orders and survive, I'll court-martial you personally. Understood, Sergeant. Then why ask permission? You know I have to deny it. Adler said nothing. Morrison leaned back. Request denied. Standing orders are clear. No offensive sniper operations after 1,800 hours. Dismissed. Adler returned to his foxhole. Henderson was cleaning his M1 Garand. He looked at Adler. Morrison shot you down? Yes. You going anyway? Adler didn't answer immediately. Then, you didn't hear that. Henderson nodded slowly. Didn't hear what? 2,100 hours. Full darkness, no moon. Cloud cover blocked starlight. Adler could see maybe 10 feet in any direction. Past that, nothing. Just blackness. He told Henderson, Cover for me. Where are you going? Hunting. Morrison finds out, he'll have you shot. Morrison won't find out unless you tell him. Henderson considered this. How long are you going to be out there? Until dawn. If I'm not back by 0600, tell Morrison I went looking for, wounded in no man's land. He'll believe that. And if you get killed, tell him I disobeyed orders. He'll believe that too. Adler picked up his M1903 Springfield. He'd already removed the scope, useless in darkness. Iron sights only. He loaded 5 rounds into the internal magazine, loaded 3 more 5-round stripper clips, 20 rounds total. Should be enough. He took nothing else. No flashlight, no canteen, no knife. Extra weight meant extra noise. Sound discipline was everything. He looked at Henderson. See you at dawn? Henderson nodded. Didn't say anything. What was there to say? Adler was either coming back or he wasn't. 21:15 hours. Adler slipped over the edge of his foxhole, crawled forward. The ground was frozen. Rough. His hands went numb within 30 seconds. He ignored it. Crawled 40 yards. Slow, methodical. Every movement calculated to minimize sound. He found a shallow depression near a destroyed German half-track. The half-track had been there since early November. Burned out. American artillery had hit it 2 weeks ago. The wreckage provided minimal cover but good concealment. More importantly, it was a landmark. Adler could orient himself by its position. He settled into the depression, checked his surroundings by feel. Nothing sharp? Nothing that would make noise if he shifted position. Good enough. Then he stopped moving completely. This was the hard part. Not the shooting, the waiting. Human bodies aren't designed to remain motionless for hours. Muscles cramp. Joints stiffen. The urge to shift position becomes overwhelming. But movement meant sound. Sound meant death. Adler had done this for 6 years hunting foxes, sitting motionless in frozen Wisconsin fields for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time, waiting for a fox to come within range. The technique was simple. The execution was brutal. First, control your own sound. Breathe through your nose only. Mouth breathing is louder. Sounds like wind through a tunnel. Predators hear it easily. Keep your breathing rhythm slow and controlled. Don't let cold air make you gasp. Don't let fear make you hyperventilate. Just breathe. Slow, steady, silent. Second, don't move. Not your hands, not your feet, not your head. Every movement creates sound. Fabric against fabric, skin against metal, boot leather flexing. Even small movements carry in cold night air. You become a statue. You ignore the itch on your shoulder. Ignore the cramp in your left calf. Ignore the numbness in your fingers. You don't move. Third, let your ears adjust. Human hearing adapts to quiet environments. Takes 20 to 30 minutes. In the first 10 minutes, you hear normal things. Distant artillery, wind, soldiers in foxholes. After 20 minutes, you start hearing smaller sounds. Branches creaking, animals moving. After 30 minutes, you hear things most people never hear. Fabric brushing against tree bark at 50 yards. Boot heels settling into frozen dirt at 70 yards. Breathing at 40 yards. Fourth, filter out irrelevant sounds. Combat zones are noisy even at night. Distant machine gun fire. Artillery barrages miles away. American soldiers coughing in foxholes. You learn to hear past these sounds. Learn to identify patterns. Machine gun fire is rhythmic. Artillery is random but infrequent. Soldiers in foxholes make specific sounds. Canteen unscrewing, rifles being cleaned, whispered conversations. What you're listening for are sounds that break the pattern. Sounds that don't belong. The metallic click of a rifle bolt that's not coming from American lines. The rustle of movement that's not wind-related. The sound of a scope being adjusted. These sounds are anomalies. Anomalies mean enemy activity. Adler had learned this hunting foxes. Foxes were smart. They moved carefully. But they couldn't move silently. Paws on frozen ground made sound. Breathing made sound. When a fox circled the chicken coop, Adler heard it long before he saw it. Then he waited. Waited for the fox to commit. Waited for it to expose itself. Then he fired. German snipers were just bigger foxes. 21:30 hours. Adler had been motionless for 15 minutes. His ears were adjusting. He could hear American soldiers in foxholes 70 yards behind him. Heard someone opening a ration can. Heard whispered conversation. Filtered it out. That wasn't what he was hunting. 22:03 hours. 48 minutes motionless. His fingers were completely numb. Left leg cramping, shoulder itching. Ignored all of it. His hearing had fully adjusted now. He could hear wind through individual trees, could hear ice crystals forming on metal surfaces, could hear his own heartbeat. Then, something else. Faint. Northeast direction, 80 yards approximately. Metallic sound. Brief. Could have been anything. Shell casing shifting, equipment scraping rock, tree branch hitting metal. But the sound was wrong. Too deliberate. Too controlled. Natural sounds have randomness. This sound had purpose. Adler didn't move. Didn't turn his head toward the sound. Just memorized the direction. Waited. 23:17 hours. Nothing. 74 minutes of silence from that position. Maybe Adler had imagined it. Maybe it was nothing. Then, another sound, same direction, clearer this time. The distinctive sound of a K-98 Mauser bolt being cycled. German rifle. Standard issue for Wehrmacht snipers. The sound was unmistakable. Adler had studied it during training. The K-98 had a specific mechanical signature, different from the American M1903, different from the M1 Garand. That was a German sniper, 80 yards northeast, repositioning after long period of stillness. Adler knew the pattern. Predators reposition when prey appears. The German had spotted something, an American soldier moving, someone careless, someone who thought darkness made them invisible. Adler still didn't move. He'd located the German by sound, but sound gave direction, not precise position. He needed more information, needed visual confirmation. In darkness, that meant waiting for one thing: muzzle flash. German snipers operated with confidence in Hürtgen. They'd been killing Americans with impunity for 3 weeks. That confidence made them predictable. They fired, killed, then frequently fired again if another target presented itself. Second target was usually a medic coming to help the first casualty. Classic sniper doctrine. Kill one, wound another, kill the medic who responds. The tactic required firing twice from the same position, and firing meant muzzle flash. Brief illumination, half a second at most, but half a second was enough to see a silhouette, enough to memorize a position. Adler waited. 0047 hours. 2 hours and 47 minutes since he'd left his foxhole. The German fired. Muzzle flash 80 yards northeast. Brief orange bloom in darkness. Adler's eyes caught it. Saw the German's silhouette for a fraction of a second. Saw his position relative to a destroyed tree trunk. Saw his firing angle. Saw everything. Then, darkness returned. Somewhere in no man's land, an American soldier was screaming. The German had hit him. Not a kill shot. Gut wound, probably. The man was calling for help, calling for a medic. Adler didn't move, didn't fire, not yet. The German would fire again, they always did. Confidence from weeks of successful kills, arrogance from operating unchallenged. The screaming continued. Adler listened past it, focused on the German's position. The man hadn't moved. Smart. Good discipline. He was waiting for a medic to respond to the screaming, waiting for a second target. 0052 hours, 5 minutes after the first shot. The German fired again. Second muzzle flash. Same position. The German hadn't relocated between shots. Fatal mistake. He'd assumed no counter-threat existed. Assumed American snipers didn't operate at night. Assumed darkness made him invincible. He was wrong. Adler fired 1 second after the German's muzzle flash, single round, aimed at the memorized position, the destroyed tree trunk, the firing angle, where the German had to be standing to achieve that shot geometry. The sound of Adler's rifle shot echoed through the forest. Then silence. The screaming had stopped. Either the wounded American had passed out, or someone had reached him. Adler didn't know. Didn't matter right now. What mattered was the German's position. Was he dead? Wounded? Had Adler missed completely? Only one way to know. Wait. If that position fired again, Adler had missed. If it stayed silent, the German was down. 0112 hours, 20 minutes after Adler's shot. No fire from the German's position, no movement, no sound. Either the German was dead, or he'd relocated silently. Adler would know for certain at dawn, when reconnaissance teams could check. But right now, working hypothesis, first kill confirmed. 3 more German snipers, were active in this sector. Adler had heard them operating on previous nights. Different firing positions, different patterns. Now, he just had to find them. He had 5 hours until dawn. 5 hours to hunt. The night was young. 01:12 hours. 1 German sniper down, 3 more active in the sector. Adler had heard them operating on previous nights, different locations, different firing patterns. Now, he had to find them. He stayed motionless, listened. The forest had gone quiet after his shot. American soldiers in foxholes were alert now. They'd heard the exchange. German shot, American shot, silence. They didn't know what it meant. Probably thought 2 German snipers were fighting each other. Friendly fire. It happened. Adler's hands were completely numb now. He couldn't feel his fingers. Didn't matter. He could still pull a trigger. Muscle memory didn't require sensation. His left leg had stopped cramping. Not because the cramp had released, because the leg had gone numb too. Cold did that. Shut down nerve endings. Eventually you stopped feeling anything. Wisconsin winters had taught him this. Sitting motionless in frozen fields for 6 hours hunting foxes. Temperature would drop to 15, 10, 5 degrees. Your body would start shutting down non-essential functions. Extremities first. Fingers, toes, ears. Then larger muscle groups. Your core temperature would drop. You'd start shivering. Then the shivering would stop. That was the dangerous part. When shivering stopped, hypothermia was setting in. But Adler wasn't there yet. Cold, yes. Numb, yes. Hypothermic, no. He could still function, still hunt. 01:28 hours. New sound. Southwest direction. Different location from the first German, 120 yards approximately. Sound of fabric against bark. Someone climbing. Getting elevation. Tree stand, probably. Standard sniper tactic. Height advantage provided better sight lines. But climbing made noise. Fabric against rough bark was distinctive. The German was trying to be quiet, trying to move slowly. But you can't climb a tree silently. Physics doesn't allow it. Your body weight shifts. Branches creak. Bark scrapes against equipment. Sound happens. Adler tracked it. Memorized the direction. Waited for the German to settle into position. Waited for him to fire. 01:43 hours, 15 minutes of silence from that position. The German had finished climbing, was settling in, getting comfortable, probably adjusting his scope, probably scanning for targets. Then, muzzle flash, 120 yards southwest, elevated position, 10, maybe 12 feet up. The German had fired at something, target unknown. Probably an American soldier moving between positions. Adler didn't hear screaming this time. Either the German had missed, or the target had died instantly. Clean headshot, probably. Adler aimed, compensated for the elevation. The German was up a tree. That changed the geometry. Adler's bullet would arc. Gravity would pull it down over 120 yards. He needed to aim slightly high. Not much. Maybe 2 inches. His iron sights weren't precise enough for exact calculations. This was instinct, experience. Years of shooting at elevated targets, foxes in barn rafters, coyotes on hillsides. He fired. Single round. The sound echoed. Then, different sound. Sound of something falling. Impact. Heavy object hitting frozen ground. The German had fallen from the tree. Either dead before he fell, or the fall had killed him. Either way, he wasn't shooting anymore. 2 kills confirmed. 2 Germans who'd been hunting Americans for weeks. 2 men who'd gotten comfortable operating in darkness. 2 men who'd made the mistake of assuming they were the only hunters in the forest. 02:41 hours. 3 hours and 41 minutes since Adler had left his foxhole. His body temperature was dropping. He could feel it. Slower heartbeat, sluggish thinking. The cold was winning. But dawn was still 3 hours away. He had time, had to use it. New sound. East, 95 yards. This one was different. Systematic movement, not climbing, not repositioning, hunting movement. The German was tracking something, probably tracking Adler. Had heard Adler's previous 2 shots. Was trying to locate him, trying to kill the hunter who'd killed 2 German snipers. This was the dangerous part. The German knew Adler was out here, knew approximately where his shots had come from. Was moving deliberately, carefully, using counter-sniper tactics. The sound pattern was textbook. Move, pause, listen. Move, pause, listen. Never more than 5 steps at a time, always pausing to check for return sounds. Professional work. This German had training, had experience, had killed before using these exact tactics. Adler didn't move. The German was hunting him, but the German had one disadvantage. He didn't know Adler was hunting by sound alone. Didn't know Adler wasn't using visual confirmation. Didn't know Adler could hear him at 95 yards. The German moved again. Closer now. 80 yards, still east, still systematic. Move, pause, listen. Adler tracked him, listened to the pattern, predicted the next movement. The German was zigzagging. Smart. Never moved in straight lines. Harder to track, harder to predict. But the German made one mistake. At 02:53 hours, he chambered a round. The sound was distinctive. K-98, Mauser bolts sliding forward. Metal on metal. Mechanical precision. The sound carried in the cold night air. Crystal clear. 95 yards due east. Adler didn't wait for muzzle flash. Didn't wait for the German to fire first. The sound was enough. Precise enough. Close enough. He fired. Single round. Aimed at the sound. Silence. Then, different sound. Not falling, not impact. Softer. Sound of body settling. The German had dropped. Dead or wounded. Either way, he wasn't hunting anymore. 3 kills. 3 Germans who'd owned this forest for weeks. 3 professional snipers eliminated in less than 3 hours. 1 more active in the sector. Adler had heard him operating 2 nights ago. North position. Usually fired between 0300 and 0400 hours. Patient. Disciplined. Only took high probability shots. This one would be the hardest. 0347 hours. Adler had been motionless for 4 hours and 32 minutes. His body was shutting down. Core temperature dangerously low. Couldn't feel his hands, feet, or legs. Face was numb. Breathing was shallow. He was approaching hypothermia, maybe 15 minutes away. After that, his thinking would deteriorate. His aim would suffer. His hearing would dull. But dawn was still 2 hours away. And the 4th German was still out there. Then, sound. North. 110 yards. Faint. Metallic click. Could have been anything. Could have been equipment shifting. Could have been a tree branch hitting metal debris. But Adler knew that sound. Had heard it before. Scope adjustment. The tiny mechanical click when you turned the elevation knob on a telescopic sight. Snipers made that sound when they were preparing for a long shot. Adjusting for distance. Compensating for wind. This German was preparing to fire. Was lining up a target. Probably an American soldier in a foxhole. Someone careless. Someone who'd shown a silhouette against the horizon. Adler listened, tracked the position, 110 yards north, slightly elevated. Not a tree stand. Ground elevation, probably a small rise, natural terrain feature. He waited. The German would fire soon. Had to. That's why he'd adjusted his scope. 0402 hours. 15 minutes after the scope adjustment, the German fired. Muzzle flash. 110 yards north, elevated position, maybe 3 feet above base terrain. The flash illuminated the German for half a second. Adler saw him, saw his rifle, saw his position relative to a cluster of broken trees, memorized everything. Then darkness. Somewhere in American lines, someone was screaming. The German had hit his target. Wounded, not killed. The screaming was high-pitched. Young voice, 19, maybe 20 years old. The soldier was calling for help, calling for his mother. Adler listened past the screaming, focused on the German's position. The man hadn't moved, was still in the same spot, probably waiting to see if a medic would respond. Classic doctrine. Shoot one, wound another, kill the medic. But no medic came. American soldiers had learned. Don't respond to screaming at night. Wait for dawn. Wait for safety. The Germans had trained them through fear. The screaming continued for 90 seconds, then stopped. Either the soldier had passed out or he'd died. Adler didn't know which. Couldn't help him either way. His job wasn't rescue. His job was elimination. 0417 hours. The German hadn't fired again, hadn't moved. Was probably leaving. Mission accomplished. One American wounded or dead. Time to extract before dawn. But Adler had his position memorized. Had seen his silhouette in the muzzle flash. Knew exactly where he was standing. He fired. Single round. Aimed at the memorized position. The cluster of broken trees. The slight elevation. Where the German had to be. The sound echoed. Then silence. No scream. No fall. No impact sound. Either perfect kill, dead before sound registered, or clean miss. Adler would know at dawn. But right now, working hypothesis, 4th kill confirmed. 4 German snipers eliminated. 4 shots. 4 kills. 0 American casualties in his sector between 21:30 hours and 0417 hours. First quiet night the 2nd Battalion had experienced in 3 weeks. 0603 hours. First light. Dawn was breaking. Gray light filtering through the forest. Adler could see shapes now. Trees, destroyed vehicles, foxholes. Time to extract. Time to get back to American lines before he froze to death. He tried to stand. His legs didn't respond. Completely numb. No muscle control. He rolled onto his side. Used his arms to push himself up. His arms barely worked either. Numb. Weak. Hypothermia had advanced further than he'd thought. He crawled. 40 yards back to American lines. Took him 8 minutes. Should have taken 2. But his body wasn't responding correctly. Muscles were shutting down. Brain was foggy. Classic late-stage hypothermia symptoms. He reached his foxhole at 0611 hours. Henderson saw him coming, grabbed him, pulled him in. Jesus Christ, Adler. You're frozen solid. Adler couldn't respond. His jaw was locked. Couldn't form words. Henderson wrapped him in a wool blanket, started rubbing his arms, his legs, trying to restore circulation, trying to prevent tissue damage. 0615 hours. Sergeant Morrison appeared, stood at the edge of the foxhole, looked down at Adler. "Where the hell have you been?" Henderson answered. "He went out looking for wounded, Sergeant." Morrison's expression said he knew that was bullshit. But he didn't challenge it. Not yet. He looked at Adler. "You find any wounded?" Adler managed to speak. "Barely." "No, Sergeant." Morrison nodded slowly. "Lieutenant Whitaker wants to see you. Soon as you can walk." "What for, Sergeant?" We found 4 dead German snipers this morning, all killed between 2100 and 0400 hours. All within 200 yards of this position. Single shots. Professional kills. Morrison paused. Lieutenant wants to know who did it. Adler said nothing. Morrison stared at him. That was you? Yes, Sergeant. Long silence. Then Morrison's expression changed. Not anger. Something else. Respect, maybe, or disbelief, or both. You killed 4 German snipers in one night? Yes, Sergeant. How? Same way I hunt foxes back home. Morrison kept staring. Then, get warm, get food. Be at battalion headquarters at 0800 hours. Lieutenant Whitaker wants details. All of them. Left. Henderson looked at Adler. You actually killed 4 Germans last night? Adler nodded. With no scope? In complete darkness? Yes. How? Listened for them. Waited for muzzle flashes. Shot at their positions. Henderson shook his head. That's insane. Maybe it was. But it worked. 4 Germans who'd been killing Americans for weeks were dead. And 0 Americans had died in Adler's sector during night hours. For the first time in 3 weeks, 2nd Battalion had survived a night without casualties. The math had changed, and Morrison knew it. 0800 hours. Battalion headquarters. Major Robert Hamilton was waiting. Intelligence officer, 34 years old, West Point graduate, combat veteran from North Africa. He'd been tracking German sniper activity for 3 weeks. Had watched the casualty numbers climb. 127 Americans dead. 0 German snipers killed. Until last night. Hamilton didn't waste time. How did you locate targets in complete darkness? Adler explained. Sound tracking, bolt actions, muzzle flashes, scope adjustments, fabric movement. Same techniques he'd used hunting foxes in Wisconsin. Hamilton was skeptical. You're telling me you hunted 4 experienced German snipers using the same methods you used for farm animals? Yes, sir. Foxes don't shoot back. No, sir. But they're harder to hear. They're quieter, more cautious. German snipers got confident. Confidence makes noise. Hamilton studied him. Can you do it again? Yes, sir. Tonight? Yes, sir. Hamilton made a decision. You're authorized for continued night operations. Sergeant Morrison will observe from American lines. He'll verify your kills. You succeed again, we expand the program. You fail or get killed, this experiment ends. Clear? Clear, sir. Morrison was assigned as observer. He'd stay in his foxhole, watch Adler's sector, verify any kills. Adler had 12 hours to prepare for Night 2. November 9th, 1944, 2100 hours. Adler deployed. Morrison watched through binoculars. Useless in darkness, but he tried anyway. 22:34 hours. First German sniper fired, 60 yards northwest. Morrison heard the shot. 5 seconds later, heard Adler's return fire. The German position went silent. 0118 hours, second engagement, different location, 90 yards east, same pattern. German fired, Adler fired, silence. 0256 hours, third engagement. This one was different. Morrison heard movement in no man's land, heard whispered German voices. 2 snipers working together, trying to locate Adler, trying to kill him. Morrison grabbed his radio, tried to warn Adler. But Adler had no radio. Too much weight, too much noise. Morrison was helpless, could only watch. Single rifle shot from Adler's direction. Pause, second rifle shot. Both German snipers went silent. Morrison waited, listened. Nothing. No more German voices, no more movement. 0341 hours. Fourth engagement. German sniper 115 yards south, fired at an American position. Adler returned fire immediately. The German fell silent. 0453 hours. Fifth engagement. Last one before dawn. German trying to extract, moving too fast, making too much noise. Adler tracked the movement, fired. The German stopped moving. 0612 hours. Dawn. Adler returned. Morrison met him at the foxhole. How many? 5. Morrison didn't believe it until reconnaissance confirmed. 5 dead German snipers, all killed between 2200 and 0500 hours, all within 300 yards of Adler's position. All single shots. 9 German snipers dead in 2 nights. 9 kills. 0 American casualties in Adler's sector. Morrison made his decision. I'm recommending you for official night counter-sniper operations. We need to teach this. Adler said, Most soldiers can't do this, Sergeant. Requires specific experience. Then we find the ones who can. November 10th through 12th. Adler pulled from combat. Training duty. Major Hamilton identified candidates, soldiers with hunting backgrounds, nocturnal hunting specifically. 12 candidates selected. The curriculum was brutal. Sound identification drills, stillness training, memory exercises, breathing discipline. 8 candidates failed. Couldn't maintain stillness for 90 minutes. Couldn't filter sounds, couldn't resist moving when cold. 4 succeeded. Private Daniel Chen hunted raccoons in Oregon at night. Corporal James Walker hunted wild boar in Tennessee. Private First Class Robert Martinez hunted coyotes in New Mexico. Sergeant William O'Brien, commercial fisherman, operated in darkness routinely. November 13th, all 5 deployed. Different sectors. Orders: eliminate German night snipers across battalion front. Results: 9 German snipers killed, 0 American casualties during night hours. The spread was working. German radio intercepts November 14th. American night hunters operating. Heavy losses. Recommend reduced night operations. For the first time since November 8th, Germans were scared. November 14th, 1944. Adler's peak night. Intelligence reported 12 to 15 German snipers active in his sector. Germans attempting to regain night dominance. Adler deployed 20-30 hours. The kills came fast. 21-47 hours. First kill, muzzle flash method. 22-18 hours. Second kill, bolt action sound. 22-51 hours. Third kill, scope adjustment. 23-34 hours. Fourth kill, fabric movement. 00-23 hours. Fifth kill, whispered coordination between 2 Germans. 01-45 hours. Sixth kill, muzzle flash. 02-28 hours. Seventh kill, careless bolt cycling. 03-16 hours. Eighth kill, another flash. 04-03 hours. Ninth kill, heavy breathing. German exhausted. 04-41 hours. 10th kill, scope adjustment. 05-27 hours. 11th kill, final flash before dawn. 05-44 hours. 12th kill, German extracting at first light. 12 kills. 1 night. Single night record for any American sniper in European theater. Morrison met him at dawn. How many? 12. Morrison stared. Didn't speak. What could he say? Reconnaissance confirmed it. 12 dead Germans, all within 300 yards. All killed in 9 hours. Cumulative count across 6 nights. 37 kills for Adler. 51 kills for his trained soldiers. Combined total: 88 German snipers eliminated. The night belonged to America now. November 16th. Official recognition. Major General Norman Cota commended Adler personally. Promoted to sergeant, awarded Silver Star. But more importantly, night counter-sniper tactics adopted division-wide. The doctrine spread. By November 20th, 12 divisions using Adler's techniques. By December 1st, standard across First Army. By December 15th, British and Canadian forces requesting training. German response, updated sniper manuals. Warnings about American night hunters, orders to limit night operations, new tactics, shorter exposure, frequent repositioning, avoid repeat shots. The statistics. November 1st through 7th, 127 American casualties from German night snipers, 18 per day average. November 8th through 30th, 41 casualties, 1.8 per day average, 90% reduction. Lives saved estimate. 300 American soldiers survived November-December 1944 because German night snipers were neutralized. Adler continued operations through December. Final count, 63 confirmed kills. His trained soldiers, 127 additional kills. Combined impact, 190 German snipers eliminated, wounded by artillery, December 28th. Evacuated to England, returned to Wisconsin. March 1945, post-war, returned to family farm, worked as hunting guide. Never discussed the war. When clients asked, he'd say, "I was a sniper, nothing special." Died 1998, age 75, local obituary, Thomas Adler, farmer and veteran. No mention of 63 kills. No mention of changing doctrine. No mention of 300 lives saved. The legacy? Modern sniper training includes night operations. Sound-based targeting taught at every sniper school. Adler method referenced in special operations training. His techniques used in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Morrison testimony, 1989. "We called him farm kid like it was an insult. That farm taught him more than any military school." Tom Adler saved every man in that battalion. Not because he was a better shot, because he understood darkness. Adler's farm still operates. His grandson runs it. Still hunts foxes at night. Still uses grandfather's techniques. The M1903. Springfield hangs above the fireplace. No plaque. Just a rifle that killed 63 men and saved 300 lives. That's how innovation happens in war. Not through doctrine. Through farm kids who understand darkness. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten stories. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making sure Thomas Adler doesn't disappear into silence.